We recently just visited Iowa and sat down with Roger Sapper. Roger owns a beautiful farm in Iowa. We did a Whitetail Cribs episode with him, so that's going to go live on the Exodus channel later this year. But we sat down, talked about how he got started in land, and some really good stories and some interesting hunting tactics that I think you guys may enjoy. We're talking box blinds, food plots, and his secret tool for access. Hope you guys enjoy this. Here we go. Roger, thanks for having us out here.
You're more than welcome, buddy.
Yeah, we
glad to have you.
Yeah, it's a really cool place back here, and we just got to record in the Whitetail Cribs. What do you think? You survived.
I did survive. I was sweating it for a while.
I knew you were gonna do great. Once you got going, it was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have an incredible place here with some awesome deer. It's we've dialed back at the amount of Whitetail Cribs we're doing, and so it's just so fun to be around people that are so passionate about whitetails and just hear their stories, because it is really, really cool.
Yeah, I will say the good Lord really blessed me over the years. He's let me take a lot of nice animals.
Yeah. And so for people who don't know who you are, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, what do you do?
Well, I'm originally from like 50 miles south of St. Louis, Missouri, a little town out in the country, Hillsboro, Missouri. That's where I was born and raised at. And then I was a union laborer down there when I worked there for probably about 20 years. And when I got about 40 years old, no, let's see, younger than that, about 30, I bought 31 or so. I bought my first farm over in Pike County, Illinois. So
that, and we were talking earlier, that would have been 2001.
Yeah.
Which is before buying land for whitetail hunting was as popular as it is today.
Correct,
Did
yes.
people think you were crazy then?
Oh, they did, yeah. But the wild part is I only paid like $1,300 an acre for it.
Was at that time were people like, you'd pay $1,300 for a hunting piece, or was that just like, man, that seems like a pretty good deal?
Well, it was a good deal because everything else was going for about $1,700 an acre. And this farm sat on the market for over a year, and he didn't get any offers. I just figured the good Lord was saving it for me, I guess.
And so, what was you're in your 30s, obviously. I assume you're obviously passionate about hunting whitetails.
Oh, yeah.
And you just wanted more opportunity?
Yeah, because when I hunted all them years in northern Missouri, the biggest I could ever kill was a 140-inch deer out of me and my dad and brother. And, yeah, when I got to a certain age, I'm like, I just want to go somewhere where there's bigger deer. And, everybody knew about Pike County, Illinois. And I remember asking my older brother, I said, hey, man, let's go over to Pike County and we'll find a farm. And he kept telling me, oh, there's no way you're going to find a farm that just go by door knocking and somebody let you hunt there. And I asked him multiple times and he wouldn't ever go. And my dad told me, he's like, well, I'll go with you, Roger. And so he just rode along with me. And I remember we drove around over there about a half a day, and then we seen this old guy out in his yard, and I'm like, he's got like a pretty good looking piece here. And we went up there and talked to him, and he ended up owning 320 acres, and he was the first guy that I ever asked, and he's like, sure, I'll let you hunt there. And I'm like, wow, I was like so excited. And then I had to ask him, I'm like, by the way, you don't care if my brother comes along, do you? He's like, no, I don't care. And then we started hunting. Me and my brother hunted that farm for like 4 or 5 years. And it butted up to the farm that I ended up buying on my first Pike County farm. And it butted up to it. And, I'd sit there all the time and I'd see all these big old bucks over on the neighbors. And every time I drove around this farm that I ended up buying, I'd see all these big old bucks. And I remember telling my dad, I'm like, oh, Dad, I said, I'd tell him about it. And he's like, yeah, drive over and ask the guy if he'd sell it. So I drove over one day and I asked him, and I'm like, hey, would you be interested in selling it? And he goes, well, actually, it's for sale. And I'm like, really? And yeah, he showed me the deer pictures and how much he wanted. And I remember that was before I even had a cell phone. And I flew to the payphone there in Griggsville at the Casey's gas station. And I put a bunch of quarters in there. I'm like, you're not going to believe this, Dad, but this guy said he'll sell this farm. My dad's like, well, how much? And I told him everything, but my dad never ended up buying it. So a couple years maybe 1 or 2 years went by, and I ended up getting that farm. I ended up buying it myself, and it was just like a dream farm, man. It was just like when I first bought it, there was like all these big deer, just all over it. And I ended up, that's where I ended up killing that one that scored 180. And that was the biggest one I had ever killed there. I'd seen one bigger, but back then I used to hunt out of the tree stands, them tree stands, they're not near as productive as those blinds, but I ended up keeping that farm, and I ended up selling it in 2006, and I moved to Iowa. And that's like the best thing I've ever did right there.
Really?
Iowa's the bomb.
It's
Yeah.
So you've hunted Missouri, Illinois, and then Iowa, and obviously it's very clear you're here today. And as we were going through all your bucks, the far majority were Iowa.
Yes.
But as far as like the purchase process for buying your first Illinois farm, was that because I think I'm just trying to. I was like in second grade, so I don't. This is outside of my memory. But at that point, it just buying hunting ground at the time felt a lot different than what it does today. I have to assume.
Oh yeah, it did. It does big time. Yeah. Now you got so many more people trying to compete and buy it. Now it's a lot harder to do. Yeah. Back then you could just buy them all day long, but now it's just such a tighter thing. It's just so much harder to do.
There's a lot more competition. But
yes.
When you were buying that, were you looking at it as an investment, or was it purely like I have the budget and I just want to hunt big deer?
I wanted to hunt big deer, and I thought I was really gonna stay there and build a house and live on that first farm for the rest of my life. But I don't know. After I stayed there for a few years, the deer hunting just started going downhill a lot, in my opinion, because just in Pike County alone, ended up being like 120 outfitters, and
that's so crazy.
I mean, to me, it's a 140-inch county now. It's like they just totally just ruined it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, well, when you compare it to where you're at today, but I
Yes.
mean, I think that's just a lot of pressure. I mean,
Yeah.
because if there are 120 outfitters,
Yeah,
and they're running 10, 15 people, multiply that, and then figure out the success rate, and then it's like that's just a lot of bucks that are getting killed.
Yeah, I mean, each outfitter's probably running 50 people through it. I'm guessing. I mean,
some of them, I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of people going through there. It just, I don't know. It seemed like it wiped them out, in my opinion, because the big buck sightings, they just started going down and went down. But
What? So you, as you're selling that farm in Illinois, did you know you were going to Iowa the moment you sold it? Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so what made you want to come to Iowa?
I don't know.
Did you drive around out here and you're like, oh, this is where I want to be?
No, I guess just watching them old videos, of Mark Jury and Don Kiske and Steve Snow, all those guys. I mean, they were just whacking these giants every year, and I'm like, wow, I mean, that's like where I need to be at.
Yeah.
It's like, that is so cool. And I just always like country living. I like seeing, pheasants and quail and turkeys. And I don't know, every time I'd come up here, you'd drive around, you'd see all these little wild animals just everywhere. It's like, man, that's the neatest thing ever.
Yeah, I was out here in Iowa a couple weeks ago, and we were on a farm, and you hear that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that in Illinois in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. It's like those little things you just kind of forget about, and then you're here, and you're like, oh, that is really cool.
Yeah.
And so you sold the farm in Illinois. You knew you wanted to go to Iowa. Mm-hmm. How did you find the next farm? Was it?
The next one, it was a realtor, because I did a 1031 exchange, and they only give you 45 days to find one, and we kept looking for one, and we never could really find one. And then one come up for sale on Appanoose County over there, and I just never did care for Appanoose County. I don't like the topography over there, and it just, I don't know.
What's it? I've been through that county a little bit. What are the differences as far as like the terrain? Is it?
Yeah, it's just more mellow over there. It's just more flatter and not
less aggressive than here.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, and then when you get like up into Warren County, it's like in Madison County, it's really big old steep hills, and it's beautiful up that way.
Mm-hmm. So you bought the Appanoose farm, and then what was that like? Because you go from Illinois and then you go to the promised land and then a different
Well,
farm.
I always wanted to end up in Decatur County, and I mean that's where we looked, and I made a few offers on some farms in Decatur. I remember the one farm, it was like 640 acres, and the guy wanted, he wanted $1.5 million for 640 acres. I'm like, golly. I mean, thinking today it's like that was dumb. I should have made that work, but I couldn't make it work, and I went up to. I don't know. I went up to so high, and he denied like 3 of my offers, and finally he told the realtor, he's like, I don't think that guy of yours has enough money. I'm thinking, well, if you don't come down, then I don't have enough. And so I didn't end up buying it. So then he ended up raising the price up to like $1,750,000. Sold it like that.
Really?
Once he listed it, I'm like, man. Now I look back on it, I'm like, man, I should have did that.
That's hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah,
I think it's easy to, as time goes on, to look back and like, well, yeah, it would have all worked out, but like at that point when we were trying to make that decision, there's always uncertainties.
Yes, because I mean I had just gotten here and it didn't. It had a bunch of CRP, but the CRP was pretty rough on it. It needed a lot of. It was all grown up, in cedars and stuff. I mean, I was just kind of scared, like, man, I don't know, what if it doesn't work? And I should have made it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how long did you own that place?
The one in Appanoose?
Yeah.
Probably for 2 years. I tried selling that thing like as soon as I bought it. I just didn't like it. It's set right on Highway 2, and it's a very busy highway, and you couldn't even hear turkeys gobble from your porch. It was the road noise was so loud. I didn't like it. It was a big farm though. It had a lot of income on it, CRP income, but I don't know, I just.
How long did it take to sell it?
It took like 2 years to finally get it done. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I had an auction on it, and somebody bought 100 acres of the good tillable, I remember. So that left me. It was a 671 acre total farm. I sold 100 and left. It seemed like it was, well, whatever the balance is. And then I went to another land auction to buy a piece one day, and the guy there that was bidding, he come up to me afterwards, and he's like, you know of anything for sale? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I got this piece here in Appanoose. And he come down and looked at it, him and his brother-in-law. It was for his brother-in-law, and they ended up buying it. And
really?
Yeah.
That's pretty random, too. I feel like that era of real estate is so much more random than today with all the information that's available. The story of the Illinois farm, when you ask him if you go sell it, and it's already listed, or he is selling it. You just didn't know.
I didn't have no idea. Yeah. It's weird how today, I mean, he was just trying to sell it, by himself,
Okay, for sale by owner.
Yeah, for sale by owner. But I mean, he was putting up little flyers around, in there around Pittsfield and Griggsville and around them little towns. And I think he even built a little website thing for it. Yeah, he did. But
he was trying.
Yeah, he was trying, and he said, I had a couple people go look at it. And I'm thinking, man, why wouldn't they buy this thing? This is like a gold mine. I mean, that's what I thought. It was just loaded with wildlife, big deer. And, coming from Missouri, I thought, oh, my gosh, I'll live here forever. And then, lo and behold, I come to Iowa and found something even better than the Illinois. So
when you bought your Illinois farm, did you live in Illinois or did you just drive back and forth?
I just drove back and forth. I only lived like an hour and 20 minutes from it. So
that wasn't. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, I could go over just for an evening hunt and still come back home. But it was a cool farm.
Yeah, it's always the first farm. I feel all the people we've talked to, it's like always the first farm they fall in the most love with. And
I thought I would never sell that thing. And it's weird as that was my favorite farm all the way until that Leon farm. I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. Now, your Appanoose farm, you sold that. You wanted to sell right after you bought it. Did you end up making some money on that, or was that more?
I made good money on it, but it just took me a while.
Yeah, it took time. Okay, so then from there you ended up getting closer over to this way, that other farm, the one where you shot 500.
No, let's see. You know what? I remember when I sold the Appanoose, I think I found one up in Monroe County, up by Albia area. Actually, I think it was I don't remember what it was, a 305 or something. I went to there first, and that just ended up being so far from Albia or Sheraton. I think it sat in between it, and it was like over a half hour, just to go to the town. I'm like, I mean, when you want gas or you want to go out to eat or something, I don't know, that just seemed like it'd take forever. And
Yeah.
I ended up selling that one. Then I moved to Decatur. I mean, that's where I always wanted to be at, was Decatur.
So it took a few farms to get there.
Yep.
It kept working.
Yep.
Working that way.
Yep. Every time I'd sell one and have the money in hand, then I couldn't find nothing in Decatur, so I'd have to settle for
Something different.
something different.
Yeah.
But I finally got there.
What advice do you give to someone that maybe they're in a state or an area where they just desire a higher quality of whitetail to chase? So let's say they're from whatever state. What advice do you have to them to making the plunge to end up buying a farm? Because I have to imagine
You mean in their state?
No, just in general, like the mental process. Because it's a big decision to buy a farm.
Well, I guess
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe you tell me. I guess I'm asking for your advice.
I have always been the one just to jump in with both feet and try it. I mean, if it works, good. If it don't work, I don't know. I've heard Donald Trump say that before, that a good businessman, he has to take a risk.
Sure.
And he said, and you are going to fail sometimes, but hopefully you make it a lot more than what you fail. But
and so that thought process, you think, is a good one to have for someone that's maybe saved up a little bit of money.
It is. I mean, you got to have, I don't know, you just got to have that drive to do it. I mean, there's just a lot of people that talk about doing it, but I guess they're just too scared to do it. I mean, my dad was always like that. He talked for 20, 30 years about buying stuff down in northern Missouri back whenever you could get it for $150 to $200 an acre.
Yeah.
And today he's still like, boy, I sure wish I'd have bought that 200-acre farm up there for, that would have been dirt cheap back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, do you, it's easy to look back in time and say, well, it was dirt cheap then. And then even when you bought your Pike County piece, you felt that was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Are we going to look back even today and say it's dirt cheap in 15, 20 years, 30 years?
That I cannot tell you. I wish I knew that. Because if it's the case, then, I'd buy more. But now it's gotten up so high, you're taking more of a risk now. It's a little more scary now.
Bigger numbers.
Yeah, bigger numbers. Yeah, because if you fail now, it'll wipe you out.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you were buying them for $2,000 an acre, I mean, you could turn right around and sell them for $3,000 the next day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was. It's just unreal. But now it's way up there in close to like in the around $6,000, and that's a bigger risk. A lot more money.
Yeah, it is. Do you have any other advice for someone that's thinking about buying a farm, or because you've bought and sold a handful of farms here over the years? Was there anything that you liked the most out of all of them, like a common thing that was like when I look for a farm, it's got to have this?
I always liked a 50-50 farm, kind of, I mean, those are super hard to find, 50 or, half timber, half tillable. Those are really hard, but I don't know. I always liked that kind of farm. Seemed like you could always resell them better than an all timber farm.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Do you just like the half and half because obviously you get some income, a little easier to sell. Those are the bigger things there, and the little food for
yes, yeah. I like the income. It helps pay the taxes. I really like the farm, and I keep telling myself one of these days I'm gonna sell and just buy an all tillable, like a big tillable farm where I could retire and just live off of because I like to farm myself, But I've never done that. I like hunting big deer so much. It's like, man, dude, I'd love to do that where I could retire and just live off of my farm. But I don't know. I like to hunt deer, so I just keep buying them hunting farms.
So you would rather work and hunt deer than
I guess. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to show it. That's funny. Any other advice for anyone for someone that's looking to buy a piece of ground or anything else that comes to mind?
I don't know. I'd probably start out small. I mean, maybe like 40s if you could afford it. 40s are like really easy to resell. 40s or 80s,
Yep.
Those usually sell pretty good.
So 40 or 80, dip your toe in the water, figure it out if it's for you.
Yeah, and I would definitely try to buy it in a well-known county or a deer hunting area, you know, I just wouldn't go somewhere way off where nobody deer hunts and by. You know, I would stick to your better areas.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting going from Pike County, which is you talk to anyone that has ever heard of deer hunting, they know Pike County.
They do, yeah.
It's just synonymous with deer hunting, and I think maybe it's rose-colored glasses, maybe not, but regardless, everyone does know it. And to your point, there's probably a higher percent of people that are looking there naturally because they've heard of it.
Yeah, everybody has heard of Pike County, Illinois.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It is kind of weird. Yeah, and so we were talking earlier too. So a lot of these deer here have a common theme. Cameron and I were talking outside when we were getting all the podcast gear. A lot of those were killed in a tree stand, right?
Absolutely, absolutely not. I wouldn't hunt out of a tree stand anymore if you paid me.
And you used to be a tree stand guy, right?
I used to be.
And what happened?
It wasn't very productive. I know people are going to argue about this, but I personally use a redneck. I've tried a lot of the other blinds, and they smell you out of them. But if you sit in a redneck and leave the windows shut on them, it's deadly. You'll kill the biggest deer on your farm every year. That you got to have that in a food plot now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when you hunt out of a tree stand, they're definitely more fun, and you can see better, you can hear better, but the wind always does something swirly, and I mean, you'll sit out there forever and not get the deer, in close enough. I mean, you might see him way out, but I'm a very competitive person, and I don't want the deer to beat me. So when I find the biggest deer, I like to go in there and kill him that year when he's 6.5.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so a blind and a food plot, you're going to kill the biggest deer on the farm. So let's give you a scenario here. We'll use the 40-acre 50-50 farm, okay?
Okay.
So that's your ideal farm. It's a 40. It's 50% tillable, 50% timber.
Well, my idea would be bigger than 40 acres. So,
so what would be the optimal size then?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It all depends on what neighborhood you're in too. I mean, you could have the right 40 in the right neighborhood, dude.
Sure.
And you hunt out of the redneck or the food plot.
What do you put in your food plot?
I like beans, probably.
And so when you say food plot, if you're planting beans, how big does that usually need to be?
Oh, I like them. I don't know. That just all depends on what a person can afford, really. I like them bigger just because whenever bucks, old bucks come out there, they want a little elbow room. Just what I've observed. I mean, if you get them too close, they just don't seem to like that as good. But I don't know. It's just my opinion.
2 to 5? 2 to 5 acres?
Oh, yeah, if you can make them that big.
Okay. Well, is there a minimum size? Is that with browse pressure and everything?
Yeah, well, that all depends on your deer herd, yeah.
No, it always depends.
I mean, I like bigger. Just, I don't know, I just like to feed all my animals all winter, but I know a lot of people, I mean, if you can't afford a bigger one, because you don't combine them, so they just kind of, I mean, it costs a lot of money to do them things.
It does. I left 10 acres at my house last year, and I was running the numbers on that. That was a very expensive project.
Exactly.
And I didn't find a darn shed antler out of it.
Ooh, that hurts.
That hurt. I was like, well, at least I'll find some antlers.
Did you kill a deer out of it?
Nope.
Wow.
Yes. So we put that in CRP this year. So yeah.
Huh. Well, it sounds like you're doing it right. Did you have a big enough? I mean, did you have one that you wanted to kill?
No, not on the farm. Yeah. So that was, I mean, late season. I mean, even this last January was pretty mild. There was one cold snap, but we didn't really get the real cold, nasty weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Once February hit, I mean, there was a lot of different bucks in there, but this wasn't a deer I wanted to kill. Now, what about a redneck blind on a smaller plot, like a timber plot that's a quarter acre, half acre? Do you just feel like the deer they're not bothered by the redneck?
No, not one bit. Not a bit, dude. I can wait till, let's just say I start hunting October 10th, a cold front. I can hook onto my redneck, pull it down there, bring my Ranger back, get my stuff, walk back down there and climb up in it, and the deer in the field will just be the same fullness of deer.
Why do you think they just kind of view it as like farm equipment or
I
something?
don't know what I
They
don't
just
know.
don't see it as a threat.
They don't see it as a threat at all.
Uh-huh.
It's weird. I don't know. I never could. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know, but they just come right out there and they'll come right up there all around. What's weird is they like to come all around. It's almost like they feel safe or something. They like to eat around that thing.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I never could figure it out, but it works.
Interesting. Well, that's it's this. I feel like as a lot of archery hunters, there's a couple of things that people are just ingrained in thinking they have to do. Hunt from elevation, like out of a tree stand, is one of the most common ones, and then now people are adopting saddle hunting a lot, and then here you are saying like the old trusty blind is the trick.
I mean, it's not as fun to hunt out of the blind, but
Uh-huh.
it's the most productive.
Yeah.
For me.
Is there any tips when you're setting up a blind? Because someone listening right now might be thinking, well, I do have a redneck, and I mean, because we're watching the hunt with the big drop tine buck. You guys hunted that a bunch.
Yeah, we hunted him
Consecutively.
7 nights, and we saw him 6 out of the 7 nights.
Was your axis just bulletproof in and out? You just
The axis? No.
Yeah. So it wasn't?
No, I don't have no. I know. My access is never bulletproof.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially when I get down every night, it clears the whole field. But every one of them, they all come right back the next night.
That's
so crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And that I encourage anyone to go watch that on YouTube. It's a really crazy, cool story.
And the wild part is when I go to the blind in the morning, I have a really, really, really bright headlamp on. And when I wear that headlamp, I can walk down here and there'll be, 25 deer out in the field. I can walk right past the deer, climb up in my blind, pull the curtain down, look out there, and then the deer will all be out there. It's a wild.
So the light doesn't bother me.
It does not bother them. The wildest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That is crazy.
I remember I went to Kansas to video with a guy. I won't say who it was, but I went out there and he had these bright headlamps and he's like, here, put this on. I'm like, I'm not wearing that thing. We're going to scare all your deer. And he goes, oh no. He said, you'll walk right in there, right past them and climb right up in the blind. I'm thinking, dude, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And sure enough, I mean, we kept doing it all week. We'd walk right past these deer and get up in there and the field would be full of deer. And I mean, you could sit there as you're climbing up the ladder and look and the deer would still be out there just eating.
There's a really bright white light.
Yes. I think is the ticket. It has to be super bright. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I would have never guessed that in a million years.
I mean, I've got so much video on my phone. It's like whenever I go to climb down at night, I had a big 6-year-old down there one night, and I kept looking out the back window. I wasn't going to shoot him because he didn't. I like something, over 170, which he might have scored close to 170. He had big old mass to him, but I don't know. It was too early in the season there, and it was early in October, and I'm like, I kept looking out there at him, and finally it got pitch dark, and I'm like, he's like slowly feeding towards me, and I put that headlamp on there. I could show it to you on my phone. I even opened up the back door and stood out on the platform and hit that light on him. He walked right up underneath me and was sitting there feeding within 5 feet of my blind.
That's crazy.
And then he went on out into the cornfield, and I finally got down, and he let me. I climbed all the way down, and then I walked back till I was out of sight with that light shining in his direction, and he never even bothered that thing.
Do you know what brand headlamp you have?
I don't.
I'm sure people are wondering.
I do not remember what it's called. I got it from a friend of mine. He come over, brought a youth hunter over one night, and we never got a deer that night, but I remember that night he gave me that headlamp.
Uh-huh.
And it was a rechargeable one, too. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All that thing's just as bright as like a coon hunting light,
Uh-huh.
Brighter than my old coon hunting lights, actually. That's wild.
And yeah, because that's, everyone preaches access and everything else, but it just goes to show. Do you think the reason you got away with that is just because you have the best food here?
I don't know why I get away with it. I don't know, but I don't go to all that extra work building all that tall grass screen and stuff.
You don't?
No, I do not. I just walk right down the hill, and I try to beat the first deer in the field.
Uh-huh.
When my wife goes, that's a little bit harder because she's like, "Do we have to go down there yet?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. It's like 3:30." I said, "By 3:40, they're gonna usually start coming out." And yeah, I usually always try to beat the first one in the evening out, but then when I climb down, I just turn that headlamp on and just climb down. And if some of them scared, some of them will run, but like I say, the next day they're all back out again.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because they're low pressure deer or something.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is. Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
That's neat though.
Yeah. And so, what? Another cool thing with that buck too is you didn't have pictures of him until shotgun season here, right?
Correct. Yes. And I didn't even know I had the pictures of him then until after I shot the deer. Then I went and pulled the camera card, and he showed up, I think, on November the 29th.
November 29th, which that's interesting. And yeah, because this is a nice sized farm in terms of acreage, and I asked how many cameras you use, and you said around 7.
Yeah, like 7 of them.
And then and I asked, well, why is that? And so you prefer observation sits.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know. I just seem like I have better luck doing it that way. But on this deer, it didn't work that way because I had never seen that deer.
Sure.
And I didn't even buy a shotgun tag. And I'm like, well, I'm not even going to.
Because you didn't have anything
I
to go
didn't
on
have
camera
nothing
or
to
seen
hunt.
anything.
Yeah. But little did I know, on November 29th, he showed up on that camera. So if I went and looked at that camera like most people do,
Yeah.
and I'd have saw him, then I would have went and got the shotgun tag because the first night I was down there was second shotgun season. And I didn't even have a tag or gun. I was just down there watching, and he walked out and he come 40 yards up there, and I videoed him with my cell phone. So, yeah, if I'd have been paying more attention to my cameras,
Yeah.
then, yeah, it would have been over.
Then
Yeah.
that the first time. Well, it made a better.
It made a better story, yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. Like I said, some people need to go watch that.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting watching that was like he seemed like he was just bedded in such a tight spot.
He was.
Every single day.
Every single day,
Just
yes.
pop up.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you see that happen a lot over the years?
No, I don't.
Let's say it felt kind of rare.
It was very rare, and I don't know why he was doing that. Yeah, he just was out there in that old tall grass. It's weird.
Yeah.
I can't answer that. I mean, he did have a little bit of a limp. He had something there, like behind his front shoulder, a hole poked in there. I don't know if. I know he was limping when he come in, so I don't know if that's the reason why he was staying so close to the food, because he had food and water, right there. So I don't know if it wasn't that, then I don't know why he was doing it, because that's very unusual.
Yeah, on like a 200-inch deer
is
there all the time.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's even more unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have any of the deer usually don't ever bed where this thing did. He was just right off the food plot there in that tall grass, and we seen him 6 of the 7 nights there.
That's crazy.
But he was always too far away, and then I ended up borrowing my buddy's smokeless. And
Yeah, because watching that, he wasn't really any closer than some of the other nights, right?
no, he was always stayed at that same distance out there. He was about 250 to 325. He'd always stay out there, and he usually would just get up and like stretch around and maybe take a few steps, and then he'd bed back down. So I guess he was coming out after dark, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense. But he was clearly bedded pretty dang close there.
I mean, me and my buddy Mark Jury, we talked about moving the blind closer, and I'm like, I said, what do you think? And he goes, boy, I don't know. He said, you're taking a big risk. I mean, going down there with your tractor or whatever and pulling it closer to where he always is. I mean, I don't know what happens if he would have got scared and ran off and wouldn't come back, but
Worked out.
it worked out. Yeah, I just got a longer range.
What if you didn't? What if you couldn't have borrowed that firearm? Would you end up moving it?
I think I would have then. Yeah, I think I would have. Because I was getting, to the point, it's like seeing him every single day. I'm like,
Got to make something happen.
yeah, it's like I don't have nothing to lose, so
Yeah.
I might as well do it.
Yeah. What have you learned anything specifically from Mark over the years of just being friends with him and hunting with him, like for whitetails?
Oh yeah, he's taught me a lot of stuff.
Which one are your favorite lessons?
Oh, I don't know. I probably don't tell. I don't know.
I mean, just that example of
He might have been the
going back and
one.
forth.
He might have been the one that gave me the idea of hunting out of a blind, probably over a food plot. Really?
Really?
Yeah, 'cause I used to be like the macho guys. Like I wouldn't sit in one of them stupid things. I got to hunt out here like the man does, out of
Yeah.
a tree stand. But that was just so unproductive. And he was doing it out of them blinds. And man, I mean, he was just one after another. I'm like, I might try that.
How many blinds do you have on this place?
I have a. Oh, let's see. I just hunt out of 3.
Okay, so you just move 3 around throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple food plots, and I sit them. And then during the rut, I'll just sit one like in a rutty area that I see them all the time.
Okay. So when's the last time you hunted out of a tree stand?
Oh, probably. Man, that might have been back in. I think I killed that 202 up there. I killed him out of a ladder stand. That might have been about the last time that I did it. That would have been back around. I don't remember if I killed him in 2012 or 13. I think.
It's been over 10
let's
years.
see. No, I'm trying to remember when I bought all them rednecks. Me and my buddy of mine, we went and bought 2 trailer loads from Redneck. We went down to Redneck, and they gave us a good deal because I guess we bought so many, and that worked out good for us.
2 truckloads.
Yeah, I can't remember. Must have been around 2014 or something, maybe right after I killed that deer. Then I started shooting or going into them blinds.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's just I just like tree hunting. I like hunting out of a tree stand.
I do too. But
your success is, the conviction in how you feel so strongly in that makes me
100%, dude.
Makes me second guess my thoughts here.
Yeah, if you get your biggest deer on your farm, I don't know how big your farm is, but we could kill him guaranteed. You can kill him year after year out of the, out of them rednecks on a. I use a wagon because they're mobile.
Yeah.
And here in Iowa, you can mow your corn down.
Yep, you can do that in Illinois as well.
You can, so that works out good with the wagon. You just keep moving your blind for bow hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, muzzleloader, it doesn't matter. You can shoot them things all the way across the field.
As far as talking about setting up, the made up situation, the 40 acres, the one blind with the one food plot. Is there any tips to getting those bucks in bow range? Because you're kind of stationary there, and let's say that blind or that food plot's usually deeper than what most people's archery effectiveness range is. Are you a scrape tree guy, or are you?
I've never used one of them, but I should because they work. I think I'm just getting older now, and I don't have that drive to do all that stuff.
Extra stuff?
Yes.
Well, this goes to show once you boil it down, you can still have success without doing all those extra things.
Yeah, I usually put my tree stand, like the one food plot. It was full of a bunch of trees. I remember I had a dozer come out and I cleared it all out, but I left like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 hedge trees. I marked them. I said leave them, and that's where I put my blinds. So I got real trees, that I left, hedge trees that they just wear the scrapes out underneath them. But if it wasn't for that, I would probably, in my other food plot, it's a big old black oak, and they just like every buck comes to the field always goes to that one tree. So if it wasn't for them, I would like to try them scrape trees. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Out of the bucks you shot out of a blind that are in here, how many, or what's the breakdown of them being downwind?
Oh man. Let's see. What do you want to know exactly now?
So out of this, the majority of these were shot out of a redneck.
Yeah.
How many of them would you hypothetically would have got busted by your scent if you were hunting a tree stand?
Oh gosh.
100% of them? 90% of them?
Boy, there'd be a lot of them, yeah. A big percentage of them. Yeah. Now, out of that redneck, I don't care. I don't care which way the wind's blowing. It can be blowing, and a lot of these it blows straight to them. And that's the only bad part is you got to sit there with the windows closed. Like in the earlier season,
It gets hot.
It gets hot, yeah.
And when we were out in your garage, you were talking about the picked up that you weren't a big fan of the rut, and you prefer. You tell me, what is your favorite time of year to hunt?
Oh, definitely the middle of October. Like anytime there's a cold front in that October, anywhere from the 10th through the 25th in there, I kill a lot of good deer like that.
What's your typical setup on those dates? Like meaning over a certain food source?
Just any old food.
Yeah.
I think any food probably would work. I'm a bean person, but there's a lot of people argue with me and say corn's better, but I don't know. I always seem like there's more deer numbers in the beans versus the corn.
What was the 200 coming into?
Corn. He's gonna try to make a fibber out of me.
I'm just kidding. I'm a corn guy, so and the only reason was that story where I planted a bunch of beans last year and it didn't pan out how I wanted.
Oh, so you are a corn guy or a bean guy?
I'm more towards corn now.
Are you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I planted 10 acres of beans, and you think it just wasn't. This didn't pan out how I pictured. Now that might be just because the area.
Might be.
But
there'll be way more people pick the corn versus the beans. I don't know. It just seems like I see more deer when I have beans.
What about like that late October when they're starting to dry out and they're turning yellow? Do you still see them hammering them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Because there usually is greener bean leaves down below, so you'll see them. Their whole head will go down in there, and but then and I always like to have some kind of a green plot, like a little they call it a kill plot, and that's something that I learned from Mark Jury big time, and that works good too. You have just within bow range, you have something clover or turnips, radishes, whatever is your favorite.
Yep. And then in October, do you prefer evening sits on those cold front days, or is it?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost every one of my deer I've killed has always been in the evening.
Evening on a food source on a cold front, typically.
Yeah, but I used to hunt every day. When I used to flip them farms, that was my job, so I got to hunt every single day. So.
So you would just be out there all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean it didn't matter if it was 80 or if it was a cold front or what. I wasn't gonna miss because I mean you never know when the deer is gonna get up and come and eat. I mean it don't always come on a cold front,
Yeah,
I mean he's got to eat every day, so he's either gonna come before dark or he'll come a little bit after dark. But you don't know that.
Do you believe in the moon? Or are you a moon guy?
I don't know if I am or I don't know. I don't know enough about it to. I'd say the deer. I don't know. I mean, it's just listening to people. I kind of like try it out, and it seems like it might work. But I'm
in the same boat. I don't have a fiery opinion about it.
No, I don't know. I mean, that 185, I remember killing it because my buddy. Glenn Salo, he shot a big one the same night, and we shot them both within minutes apart. And I remember he brought it over, and we got a picture of both of our deer together. That's when I shot the tomahawk, the 203. And he shot a big booner that night, and we got him in the same picture. But I remember he asked that. What's that moon guy's name?
Adam Hayes.
Yeah. He asked it Adam that night, and we both killed them within minutes apart, and it was both in the time of the red moon said that they were supposed to do. But that's the only history I know about it.
So 2 booners in a few minutes.
Yes,
I mean that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it seemed to work that time, but no, I've never followed it on would they do it on an app now?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to do it just because I love studying deer. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to learn everything I can about them. I just like whitetail deer.
I get it. Yeah.
It's fun to study them and watch them and see all their different habits and.
Yeah. Is there any tips you have for hunters that are trying to figure stuff out other than the blind? Because if
you can't figure deer out, dude. I've never. I mean, you're not gonna predict what a deer's gonna do. I mean, I can't do it.
Sure. And so what's someone supposed to do then?
Put in your time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you do. I mean, you know he's going to come to food to eat. He has to eat. I mean, you can predict him eating, like,
Yeah.
but you can't say, oh yeah, I got him. He's going to come at 6:45, tonight. I mean, I don't know how you do that, but I'd say just put your time in the seat.
Yeah.
Just have you a food plot. I mean, that's the most productive anymore. But
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of people, they don't like doing it that way. They like to get way back in their timber and sit in a tree stand, but I don't know, that was never productive for me. I could never figure that method out.
Yeah, well, it was funny. You were talking about you would wear a particular clothing for scent.
Oh yeah.
You were die hard about it.
I was the most diehardest. I mean, I was like miserable even to be around, dude. I was like a butthead.
Like don't spray, don't
Don't
wear regular
Oh
deodorant.
yeah.
Don't.
Oh yeah. Don't touch. I mean, yes, I was like a freak about scent, and that didn't help.
Yeah.
No. I wore two of them scent suits, and I'd wash down and go out there and have deer dig it downwind and blow on you, and I'm like, I tried everything that come down the pipe. To me, you're just not going to beat the nose that God put on a white-tailed animal. No man's going to beat that. But I mean, now if you sit in the redneck blind, in my opinion, but you got to keep the windows shut.
Uh-huh.
It's just because the windows seal so good. That's the only reason. I mean,
Yeah, that's What about so when you were doing that, were you not even really like, I'm just going to call it playing the wind? Were you just going because you felt like you could be scent free at that point? So you go where you think you need to go.
You mean back in the day?
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah, that's kind of, I thought that all that scent stuff was going to be the ticket, to protect me, but it didn't work. So then I started hunting the wind more, then I would start hunting edges and fringes of something. I would never go back in the timber, and I got more successful that way, but still nothing like the blinds.
Yeah. And so from the sounds of it too, you've learned over the years to be more of the edge guy or the fringe, like hunting the fringes.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think some people get too aggressive?
Oh, I think they do. Yeah. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. I mean.
Well, sure, and you're entitled to it, and I think it's always fun to get different. There's so many ways to kill a big buck. There's people that have total polar opposite strategies, and they both find success, and that might be different to both of them. But
see, my dad, he taught me to go. Oh yeah, you got to go as deep in there as you can possibly go. Into the deepest, darkest timber, and but that was non-productive. It's weird because I started watching all them videos back in the days, and they had videos, and I'd listen to them guys, and I remember the person that I picked that up with was from Steve Snow. I remember that dude. That dude would kill some giants, man. I mean, repeatedly, year after year, he'd just whack them big old giants up here in Iowa. And I remember listening to him. That's what he'd tell me. That's what he'd say on there. That you got to hunt them fringes and get on the edges like that. Let the deer come to you, and that works. Yeah, you always want to stay back and let the deer come to you. You got to have patience, though. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the most of patience, but it works. I mean, I've proven it that if you just sit back and give it enough time, the deer you're hunting will eventually come to you.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you might sit out there for 2 or 3 months, but
but you'll get them.
Yeah,
if you're persistent. That's funny.
I remember watching a hunt with Lee Lukoski on it once. I mean, that dude, I think he sat out there for like 45 or 60 days straight or something before he got his deer. I'm like, man, dude, that's a long time.
That is a really long time.
And that guy's a really good hunter too.
Yeah.
And he's in like a best area you can be in. But see, he had that patience. It paid off.
Uh-huh.
You got to have patience.
Patience, hunt the edges.
Yeah.
Have food plot, have a box blind. And that's the
if you really want to be productive. I mean, that's what works for me.
Yeah.
It's not the funnest hunting out of a blind. I mean,
you should just hunt out of a tree stand this year.
No.
Just for old time's sake.
I'm too competitive now. I like to hunt.
You don't like the deer winning?
Yeah, I don't want the deer to win. I like to be the winner. And I'm older now.
It'd be a blast from the past. It'd be fun.
It would, I guess. You gonna come video me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you? I might do it then.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. It'd be like the cat in the water now because it's you haven't done it for so long.
I don't even know where I'd put one up at. Yeah, I don't know. I could probably find a place though where we could maybe do one.
That would be funny. That would be fun.
I doubt we shoot the biggest buck though.
But what if we did?
Oh, that'd be cool. I'd have to eat my words then.
Then we gotta test. You gotta put it in a good spot now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We better start out with a doe.
There you go. What have you been learning with your new drone here? It's pretty cool.
What do I learn from it?
Oh, you're showing me this different.
That thing is so cool because it's got that thermal on it, man. And I mean, you can find. What's cool is you can just go up in the air 250, 300 feet and just take off flying and turn that thermal on and just fly. I mean, them little deer will show up on there real red. And so then I just stop and put it back to the colored and zoom in on them. And then you can tell, if it's a great big buck or a doe or, that thing is just awesome.
What made you that's just a really cool thing, and that's something that's got a lot more popularity. There's the deer tracking, but then there's also people that do like studies to see what kind of deer are on your farm. Yeah,
the deer analysis. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing now. I originally got it because I'm off all winter, so I'd watch the YouTube. I'd watch that dude in Ohio with the deer drone recovery.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that is so cool because, I love big bucks, and it's like, that'd be so cool to get this thing and go help people find their deer that they can't find. And so I got one, and I put it on, I remember I advertised it on social media, and somebody fired on there, oh, that's illegal in the state of Iowa. And I'm thinking, no, it ain't, dude. And so I called up my local DNR officer, and he said, yes, you cannot, it is illegal to go track a wounded deer with it. And I'm like, oh, man, dude.
Well, you can still do the deer analysis.
Yes, that's what I plan on doing now. That, and I like going and looking for people like, say if you got a farm here, you want me to come during the summer and find you some big velvet bucks, we can, get awesome footage with this.
It's really impressive. It was really cool. Some of the videos you're showing, and it seemed like they were pretty unbothered by it too. Yeah,
I do that, and then I'll do the deer analysis. Once the leaves fall off, it's a lot better. To come and do that. It's just cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a novelty thing, but it'd still be cool to fly over your farm and to see where the bucks are bedded, see where the does are bedded, see where like the satellite bucks are bedded, where the lone buck is. I feel like you could learn a lot.
You can learn a lot, and you can test your hunting skills because you're like,
I think it's here. You can play a game with yourself.
Yeah, you can play the game with yourself. Okay, let's just see how good I really am and how good I really know my farm, and then you can fly it over and go, wow, the deer's way over somewhere else, and here I thought it was over somewhere else. It's a neat. Yeah, it's like a game you can play with yourself.
Test your theories and see what's going on. Yeah. Another thing cool is it would be interesting to know when for sure, like when you're finding like, okay, they were definitely on a green food source more tonight versus a grain. And like just keeping tabs on that, I think would be kind of interesting. Yeah, because you could discern when you're driving around, you can only A, see so many fields, and B, cover so much at the prime time. With that thing, you could cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because like I've told a lot of people, hey, say, you got 1,000-acre farm, and I mean, you can only go glass one field in an evening, where this thing here, you can give me a map, and I can go check all of your different food plots and, show you, take video of all of them and show you what deer's going where. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
It is really cool. Well, it's getting about are you going to show us how that thing works?
Well, you want me to?
Yeah, I do. I want to see Cameron and I want to see how this thing works, if you're up for it.
I will. Boy, I wish you'd have told me a little bit earlier, but we still can because the sun's up still a little bit.
All right, we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, I mean, I can find anything with it. I can find lost people, like if your cows get out or livestock, dogs, anything that the thermal will pick up any heat.
Uh-huh. Well, if someone wants to get a hold of you for that, what's the best way to do it? Find you on Facebook? Or
yeah, you can either do that or just give me a call.
You want to share your number here?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
It's 641-223-3525.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time here out of your Sunday to show us around, show us your whitetail crib. It was really cool. It's really awesome. Just want to say thank you, and we really appreciate it. We had a fun
You're
time.
more than welcome, buddy. I'm glad you came.
Yeah.
I had a fun time too.
Yeah.
I like trying to. I like. At my age now, I would rather help somebody. Help them get a deer versus me shooting one anymore.
Yeah. And this is the 194, I guess.
Well, yeah, that one there was supposed to be for my wife. There, I begged her that night, but she got really sick, and I kept telling her, I'm like, well, if you don't go down there, I said the deer will probably come out tonight. And sure enough, he come out. He was like 50 yards from the blind too, man.
That's a heavy deer.
They were like, there was a bunch of them. They were all downwind. I had all the windows shut, and it's easier to hunt out of a blind with a gun.
Sure.
Because, you can get the gun all set up, and then when you open the window, you only got a certain amount of time.
Would you say like 2 to 5 seconds?
No, you got usually
longer?
more than that. Usually maybe about 10 seconds.
Okay.
Generally, yeah. I mean, I've shot them with a bow, but you gotta be ready, and then it works better if you got another person in there that can, because a redneck's got a string on it, and you can be ready, and then they can just pull the string and pop the window up, and you can come back full draw.
Yeah.
But I have had to do it myself. But yeah, I usually get 10 seconds at least.
All right. That's a good tidbit of information. Well, Roger, thank you so much.
Okay.
And
All right.
I'm dying to see this drone.
Okay.